my time to explain some. Some of you may have heard some of the information. Some of the information we've shared before, but we got other information that we have not shared before. Obama is the one that had Ukraine destroy its weapons. And he started the new Cold War with Russia. And I can prove it to you. Now, Barack Obama, you may have forgot, he became senator back January 2005. He won in 2004, but he became officially, was sworn in January of 2005. About 7 months after he became a senator, just 7 months. This is why I know there were some big people backing Barack Obama, like the CIA, rich people were behind Barack Obama from the onset. Even before he became a senator, there were powerful people behind Barack Obama. They want him, they was pruning him to be president. Is a fact. About 7 months after he became the senator, Obama talked about this in his book, The Audacity of Hope. He actually mentions this in that fake, phony book. The book he published in 2006. This is when he was getting ready, because he wrote 2 fake books back then. He was getting ready to become president, and they had to build a narrative. They built a phony story of who Barack Obama was through these 2 phony books. The CIA and all these intel community could have easily proven that Barack Obama wasn't who he said he was in these books. So the 2 books were nothing but propaganda books. That's what I call them, propaganda books about Barack Obama. It was a story he wanted you to believe. It's like somebody make up a character and then he becomes that character. Let me put on my Superman gear. Obama is so intelligent. He's qualified. Now, Obama traveled to, I think it's pronounced Donetsk, Donetsk. It's eastern Ukraine. He traveled there 7 months, just 7 months after Barack Obama came into office. He traveled to the Ukraine in 2005. Now, that itself is pretty unusual for a first-time senator. As soon as he gets in office, all of a sudden, he's traveling over to the Ukraine. Guess who he traveled with? There's an Indiana Republican by the name of Senator Dick Lugar. Dick Lugar. His first name says all you need to know about him. He's another one of these. He's like the Mitt Romneys, the Liz Cheney, the Mike Pence. Him and Mike Pence probably buddies because Mike Pence is from Indiana too, right? The John McCain. He's that type of Republican. He got an R in front of his name, but he's liberal to the core because Dick Lugar voted yes for amnesty for illegal aliens. That whole DREAM Act, he was for that with Barack Obama. Just so happened he gets Barack Obama to go over to Ukraine with him. Does that sound a little suspicious to you? First-time senator, been in office for 7 months, he's going over to Ukraine. He also voted yes to continue taxpayer funding abortion. I thought Mike Pence was against abortion over there, Mr. Man of Integrity. You got your own colleague down there spending money on abortions down there? Anyway, Obama went with him to eastern Ukraine August 2005. They met with President Viktor Yushchenko, and the 2 presented the threat reduction program. Some of you may have heard about it before. They advised Yushchenko to cooperate and destroy their weapons. Now, some people thought it was just nuclear weapons they're actually to destroy. Because you know when Russia actually initially failed, do you know that Ukraine had the 3rd largest supply of nuclear weapons? Because Ukraine was part of Russia. When the Soviet Union failed, inside of Ukraine, they had the 3rd largest supply of nuclear weapons on the face of the earth. Just let that sink in for a minute. Now, this included nuclear weapons they wanted to destroy, artillery weapons they wanted to destroy, small arms, anti-aircraft weapons, and conventional ammunition of all kinds. Why would they tell them to destroy all their weapons? Okay, just say you want to destroy the nuclear weapons, which they never destroyed, I don't think. But why would you have them to destroy all their anti-aircraft weapons and conventional ammunition of all kinds? And it was reported that Obama and Dick returned to Washington and declared the U.S. should devote funds to spend up to the destruction of the 400,000 small arms, 1,000 anti-aircraft missiles, and more than 15,000 tons of ammunition. Obama and Dick said we need money to help them destroy these weapons. Does that not sound suspicious to anybody but me? Now, they said some of these weapons was destroyed, but allegedly some of these weapons were supposed to be shipped back to the United States. And guess what some of them actually were shipped to? Libya. Libya. Could this be the reason Obama and the posse wanted Gaddafi taken out? Now, before I get finished with the Obama's ties to Ukraine, I want to interrupt this because sometimes when I do a video, I'll start thinking about something I read. And what I'll have to do is go back and insert something else I thought about. And I forgot all about this Gaddafi because, you know, we took Gaddafi out. Now, you know who else was involved in the whole Gaddafi taken out? The French were. President of France, I think it was Nicholas then. And what Nicholas had allegedly, Gaddafi, after the sanctions was lifted on Gaddafi, Nicholas and the Frenchman was supposed to have cut a deal. Gaddafi was going to buy like $5.8 billion worth of military equipment. Some kind of way they said Gaddafi backed out of the deal. Later on, it was rumored through good sources that they had dropped off suitcases full of money to the President Nicholas. Gaddafi so-called made this plea. A couple of days later, they said they bombed him. Hillary Clinton was in on that too. Now, when the sanctions was lifted, British, I think it was some of the oil companies in Britain, there was a lot of people who jumped on the bandwagon to get some of that Libya money. Some kind of way Gaddafi made them mad. Whether it was through the arms that we supposed to have shipped over there after Ukraine had destroyed their weapons through Barack Obama, we find out that Hillary was involved in talking to the French president. The Brits and NATO all made some type of alliance, and the French president, who allegedly had cut this deal with Gaddafi, urged on. He was one of the main ones who wanted to go over and destroy Gaddafi. Now, somebody needs to ask themselves this question. Why have we never really found out all of the details about allegedly what Gaddafi was doing? Because the sanction had just been lifted. I can't remember, 2002, 2003, whenever the sanctions was lifted. And immediately he starts cutting deals with these people. The French was one of the ones, the British, and all of a sudden everything went AWOL for some reason. So I told you that Barack Obama visited in 2005, but why is it all of a sudden we insisted, was that 2007 that we took Gaddafi out? No, was it 2008? Somewhere around that time, 2009 or something. But for some reason, Gaddafi had made the French mad, and NATO and their partners was mad about something. We think it had something to do with arms. We don't know what was going on over there. But Gaddafi had a lot of money, and they wanted his money, and for some reason they wanted him to be quiet. Allegedly, he made the statement that he had already paid the French president. And we're talking about corruption in NATO. NATO is, I don't pay attention to what NATO say. Because of all the corruption that NATO has done, now you want me to believe that they're actually fighting this war because they're such good people. I'm not buying it. Not at all. And so you got to ask yourself, when people start telling you that somebody's so rotten, and the reason they're supposed to really go to war is for their national security, you're not supposed to keep going to war saying you want to free some people. I don't understand anybody who goes with people. Every time somebody says somebody needs to be free, we got to go to war. We'll be fighting continuously. We would never stop war if this was the case. There's all kinds of suspicions around Gaddafi's murder and the reason we took him out. I'm sure we'll never know, though. It's possible that when Obama, see, I told you, way before Obama became senator, somebody was working to get this sissy elected. Because the boy was doing cocaine and he was queer as I don't know what back in the day. And he was in the back of the limousine with the other queer who wrote a book about it. I'm not making up. His mama, who used to go to Jeremiah Wright's church, said her son had relations with Barack Obama. 77-year-old woman ain't lying on this man. He had relations with another man. Anyway, the choir director of Jeremiah Wright's church, Mr. Goddamn America. And so, all of a sudden, some of these weapons supposedly got shipped back to the United States of America. Some of the weapons was sent over to Libya. Where's those weapons at now? Nobody can tell you where all the weapons are at. So there was something happening in Benghazi. I think Benghazi had something to do with all of this. Obama. I'm going to tie it into you. See, they've been doing a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes, the intel community, because Obama ain't smart enough to do it by himself. The intel community has been working on this. It was reported that Obama released a press release that said this would help guarantee the safety of Ukraine, destroying all your weapons, hiding all your weapons. Let us take care of it. We're going to give you some money to help you get rid of your weapons. Now we're supposed to believe that Joe Biden, who was the VP when Barack Obama was the president, when the coup d'etat happened, you want me to believe that they're going to save Ukraine and there's no dirt going on this? I'm not finished. So that was one of the things Obama did even before he became president. He got them to destroy all their weapons. Now, how can they defend themselves with big bad Russia if you get them to destroy all their weapons? So Obama was the president who ordered the coup d'etat. And I'm going to prove how they did this right here. This is another reason they're mad at Russia. When Obama was the president, Assistant U.S. Secretary, look her name up. She was the Assistant U.S. Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland. I think she's still in Obama's administration right now. Biden's administration right now. I think she is. I'm not for sure. But if you look up that name, she was Assistant U.S. Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland. She was caught on a secretly leaked phone call. Guess who actually caught him and wiretapped in there? The Russians eavesdropped on their conversation. They didn't know nobody was listening. During the conversation between Mrs. Nuland and the U.S. ambassador of Ukraine, I believe it was Jeffrey Patt, P-Y-A-T-T, I believe it was then. They were having a conversation. And this is Miss Nuland. Now, she's so respectful. Listen to her language on the call when she didn't think anybody was listening. She says, so that would be great. I think to help glue this thing together. She's talking about the coup d'etat. And have the UN help glue it. And F the EU. This is what she said when Russia... See, this is what made them mad. This is why Vladimir Putin actually went in and took over Crimea. She says F the EU. So we're supposed to pay attention to the EU and pay attention to international law when it's not convenient. Barack Obama's person that he had in charge says F the EU. And the person on the phone, they said was the male, they believe it was the Jeffrey Pratt guy. He says we got to do something to make it stick together, because you can pretty much sure that it does not start to gain an altitude. The Russians will be working behind the scenes to try to torpedo it. Now the Russians are listening to the conversation. The two people also discussed their dealings with Ukraine's three main opposition leaders. These are the three opposition leaders. Video Klitschko, you remember he's a famous boxer? You remember? So he's one of the ones in the videos now talking about we need to do something about Russia. He was one of the ones, one of the puppets they was trying to put in then, Barack Obama. So it was Klitschko, Arsenio Yatsenyuk, something like that. And the other one was Ola Takaba. There was three people that they were trying to put in to replace a duly elected president. They called it a revolution. It was a coup d'etat. Now, the Ukrainian government wasn't authentically, it wasn't an authentic revolution. The U.S. government was behind the scenes trying to overthrow a duly elected president in Ukraine. Now, don't forget, their main weapons already gone because Barack Obama had them seized in 2005. So Ms. Nuland also instructed Mr. Pratt, whatever, however you say his name, to choose a anti-Russian and some call far-right Yatsu to be in charge of Ukraine then, because the key event occurred 24 days before Ukraine's president Viktor Yushchenko was overthrown on February the 20th. 30 days before the new person to head the Ukraine government, Yatsenyuk, became officially appointed to rule the new, clearly fascist country, he won the official designation on February 26th. However, this was only a formality. Obama's agent had already chosen him on January the 27th. Now, the Russians are the ones who were listening, and they leaked this phone call. Because it used to be on YouTube. It was leaked, but you can find documentation of it. The Russians are the one who leaked this phone call. And see, they've been hating the Russians ever since then. So the phone call was leaked, and Putin made his way to Crimea because he knew what they was trying to do. So it was Obama who helped Ukraine destroy its weapons in 2005. It was Obama who ordered the coup d'etat with the CIA telling him what to do. And I also believe that it was the CIA that helped Obama get elected. He was the Manchurian candidate that they hid who he really was in order to get him in office. They knew he wasn't qualified. They knew the birth certificate was fake. How in the hell did he become president unless the CIA and the intel community were working behind the scene? This freaking newly elected senator, we didn't know anything about this freaking communist scumbag. But you get to 2014, after Russia annexed Crimea and began arming separatists in eastern Ukraine with tanks, armed vehicles, rocket launchers, Ukrainian President Petro came to Washington, D.C. and begged Barack Obama in a joint session with Congress, begged him while Joe Biden was right there, begged him to send over weapons so they can fight. Now, this is after Barack Obama did the coup d'etat now. The Wall Street Journal reported back then that President Barack Obama stuck to his refusal to provide weapons, and he's the one that took the damn weapons. Any other leader, he said, here's some blankets for you. They said that Obama feared that the lethal aid would provoke Moscow. In other words, it would piss Putin off even more if he tried to do this. So that's why they waited a little while. So right now, Obama is the one who's really pushing the whole Russian-Ukraine stuff. It ain't Joe Biden. Or it's the CIA who was behind Barack Obama, because it ain't even Barack Obama himself either. Now, instead of rocket-propelled grenades, they provided food to the Ukrainians. And now you want me to pray for them when you're the ones who started this crap. They wouldn't give them anything, but when Donald Trump comes into office, he provides them with all kind of like Javelin anti-tank missiles in the Ukraine and say, y'all fight your own war. But remember, they impeached Donald Trump for a phone call, but they never impeached Joe Biden after he had the prosecutor fired that his son was working on the board of Burisma. I told you the other day that Archer fella, they locked him up for the same thing, but Hunter Biden never got locked up. So why in the hell would I support Ukraine when the Bidens and the Obamas have been in bed? So the news media outlets have started a propaganda crusade. So the network behind the coup had actually started, and I mentioned it in the other video. Eric Schmidt from Google, Jared Cohen, also now of Google, but still continuing through unofficial U.S. Secretary of State when Hillary was in office. They went there to talk to, what's the fella who's been in hiding over there, who did all the leaking or whatever. They've been trying to get him for long. I don't even know where he at right now, to be honest with you. Because all of this stuff that they were actually doing, they were doing behind the scene, and they knew that Russia knew these things, so they backed off of it up until now, 2021, 2022. And now Joe Biden's in there, even though we can prove uncategorically, not only did Barack Obama, I got pictures of Barack Obama in Ukraine in 2005, standing by all these weapons. In 2005, pictures. Also, we have evidence to prove that not only was Barack Obama and Mr. Dick, who the Republican got him to actually get rid of their weapons, we also can prove with the leaked phone call that Barack Obama and his administration was behind the coup d'etat. And for us to act like we got innocent hands right now is an outrage to me, because this evidence don't lie. There's a fact. Now, whether you believe what, because some people say, well, I don't think NATO ever said they would not extend a certain way. Well, there was some kind of agreement, and all the officials admit there was some kind of agreement that they agreed that they would not extend closer to the Russian border. Whether you want to believe Russians are good or not, or Vladimir Putin is good or not, all I can say is that your government has been lying all this time. Why would I now believe the same government who's lied about Barack Obama's involvement, They've lied about Joe Biden, what his son was doing in Ukraine. They've also lied about how they were behind the coup d'etat. They've also lied about their involvement in all the corruption that went on in the Ukraine. And so all of these corrupt people were in bed with the Ukrainians. And now all of a sudden, because this queer who's supposed to be the president dancing around like a queer, I'm supposed to believe now that they are redeemed now. I mean, everybody was saying, I know I've been redeemed. So they're redeemed now because this sissy, the actor, got in office. Now all of a sudden I'm supposed to ignore all of these mounds. I can go on for longer because the evidence doesn't lie. They've been lying about this evidence for a while. And everything that they've told us was true. We find out that most of everything that they've said has been a lie. So if you lie about this and you won't come clean about this, why would I believe anything else you say? It's a well-known fact they've done this. And I do believe that they made some kind of agreement not to go towards Eastern Germany after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Now, what they messed up is that Gorbachev came out later on and says, we didn't get anything in writing. We didn't really discuss it then. But other officials in Russia and other officials around who were talking to Baker and all of them, they said it was agreement after agreement that they would not expand. Not that they wouldn't let people join, but they would not expand the military presence closer to the Russian border, and that includes Eastern Germany. They've lied about that. So if they lied about all this other stuff, why would I believe they're telling me the truth when it comes to all these other things that they have lied about? If you don't tell the truth about something so simple, is that, was it a coup d'etat? Did you have any involvement? The phone call don't even lie. The phone call exposes you. You're mad because Russia leaked the phone call, exposing the person y'all was talking behind the scene. If they're supposed to be sovereign, why is the United States involved in who's running that country? If they're supposed to be sovereign. No matter if you like the person in charge. You said the people voted for him. Why are you trying to overthrow a duly elected person? I think, to me, that proves my point easily.
And the next one is the green.